For Session Update, I'm Shannon Lurkey. A bill that would exempt car-sharing services from Minnesota's motor vehicle rental tax came before the Senate Tax Committee on Wednesday. Here's that meeting.
First bill on the agenda is Senator Dibble, Senate File 133. For this one. Yeah. Okay. Good morning, Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I appreciate the hearing and spending a few moments visiting on this subject. Senate File 133, Mr. Chair and members, would propose to eliminate a tax or a tax and a fee that currently is paid by what we call car sharing services and those who rent cars under this particular service model. It's very, very simple in its construction and its purpose, and we have a few folks who are here to speak about why this might be a good idea. But in very short summary, there are services available in some communities that allow folks to access use of a car, use of a vehicle, on a very, very short-term basis. Members might have followed some of the media accounts of one of those in particular, Car2Go, which are little cars, and you might have seen them around Minneapolis and previously St. Paul, these little blue and white cars that are parked throughout the neighborhoods. And folks can access those through an app on their telephone, walk to a Car2Go parked on the street nearby and run an errand, and then either bring it back to that point of where they picked it up or just kind of leave it wherever they need to leave it for the next person who needs it. So these are very, very short-term, little temporary car rental, what are also termed car sharing services that are different from more traditional car rental. Of course, and very different from motor vehicle leasing. So we have kind of three major concepts in this arena. You know, car rental services, more traditional. Folks fly into the airport, rent a car for a few days, and then depart. And they admittedly pay a fairly high car rental tax, 9.2%. There's also a 5% fee that gets paid as well. The problem is that, I should amend that. I mean, some folks do rent cars on a long-term basis as well, you know, to get them through a couple of weeks when they need a gap filler. But the problem with these little short-term car rental services paying this particular fee, particularly in Minneapolis, is that they are also subject to all of the other additional sales taxes for purchase of services and goods. And so effectively, that amount approaches 22% of the cost of renting the car. So Car2Go cited that as a problem in this market, and as a consequence left the market. And there's some material in your packet that would support that argument. I mean, there may be other factors that cause Car2Go to depart this market, but I don't doubt that this was at least one of the factors. There's this report in your packet called When Sharing is Taxing, and there's a chart that shows, it looks like this, that shows the effective rate of all the taxes stacked up on top of each other in the Minneapolis market. And it's on page 13, it's 22%, and it's one of the highest. So if we're able to eliminate this particular tax, Car2Go is gone. I don't know if they'll come back or not. But it would allow other services that do exist that provide this kind of very short-term increments of an hour or less to provide the service. And this really just provides folks who need an option short of owning a full car, the occasional, what we call last mile, running the occasional errand. You know, it works really, really well in the neighborhood in which I live, which is the heart of Uptown in South Minneapolis, where there are a lot of young people, a lot of folks who really rely on just walking or biking or hopping on the bus or, you know, some of those options. But once in a while, they want to go to the grocery store and have a bunch of bags to carry, or in a lot of other situations, a family owns one car, and this allows them just to continue to own one car, and then occasionally when both partners need to use a car at the same time, Car2Go is an option. So with that, I'll suspend and pause for questions, or we have a number of folks, Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Senator Dibble.
queued up to testify to provide a little bit of insight.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. So you do have some testifiers to see?
Yes. All right, so Mr. Chair, we'll start with Lisa Bender, who is a Minneapolis City Council member.
Good morning. Welcome to the
morning.
committee. Please state your name for the record.
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Lisa Bender. I'm a member of the Minneapolis City Council, and thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony this morning in support of Senate File 133. And thank you to Senators Dibble and Dietzich for bringing this forward. I'm happy to provide this testimony on behalf of the city, and we also have staff here as well if you have any questions. Many of my constituents in the Uptown and Whittier areas of the city and across the city of Minneapolis rely on car sharing as part of the way that they get around the city. As the senator talked about, the neighborhoods I represent, and many of our neighborhoods in the heart of Minneapolis and St. Paul, choose not to have a car or perhaps can't afford one and use car sharing as part of a system of ways to get around, whether it be walking and biking and transit. From young professionals who've moved to Minnesota for a job in one of our downtown employers, to retired couples who are downsizing and trying to save money. We hear from constituents of all walks of life and ages about how important car sharing has become to their lifestyle. Car sharing is an important part of our transportation network because it complements the other options. For example, the retired couple I talked about who lives in my ward, they sold their car to save the about $9,000 it costs in depreciation and insurance to own a car. They use car sharing to get groceries or to visit friends who aren't accessible by transit. We've also heard from others who use car sharing as part of their regular commute trips when they have an unexpected trip. So maybe they'll take the bus downtown to work and use car sharing to get to an off-site meeting. Or perhaps they'll use transit to get in the morning but have to leave late when transit service isn't as frequent. So these are the ways that we have folks in our community using car sharing. Imposing the same very large tax rates that apply to rental cars to car sharing doesn't make sense because they're so different. Car sharing, like transit, is part of our day-to-day transportation system in the Twin Cities. It's almost providing that public good that's the last part of a transit trip or complementary to our public system where it isn't efficient to provide frequent bus service. So we know that these are a barrier. Our nonprofit operator has become exempt. So we are supportive of expanding that as well to the private market operators. So thank you again for taking the time to consider this important change for Minneapolis and St. Paul. And I would say other communities across the state as well may benefit from this. And again, I'm happy to answer questions, or we have staff as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bender. Members, we'll wait until testifiers are finished, then we'll go to questions. Thank you. Next testifier, Daniel Jacobson. Is that correct, Senator Dibble?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Daniel Jacobson, Paul Stewart, and Carol Cafferty. Maybe we can have all three come up.
Sure.
And I'll relinquish the
fine.
table. And Mr. Chair, there's a number of folks wanted to provide their perspectives, and so they wrote those up, and we printed off a recitation of their experiences, and those are in your packet.
All right, thank you. I was reminded that Carol Cafferty is not here today.
Oh.
So welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record, whoever would like to go first.
I'm Dan Jacobson. I live in Minneapolis, uptown area. I just kind of wanted, when I heard the opportunity to come speak, just to put a face to the users. I've always relied on mass transit, lived in Minneapolis my whole life, used buses, bicycling, other car sharing, cabs. But when Car2Go came out with their style of service, it was a huge boon. It enabled our one-car household to really be more flexible. I now live as a single parent, and the Car2Go was, I don't have a car at all, and it was incredibly useful, and I was able to get my daughter to places. My success story, I always tell everybody, is it really worked well with busing in the sense that I work in Edina. One time I had to go pick up my daughter at school at South, which is down on Lake Street in Hiawatha. and I was able to take a bus, get off at a stop near the Car2Go, hop in the Car2Go, pick her up at school, and get home 45 minutes. Couldn't have done it much quicker driving, and it was a really slick service. When I first saw it, I thought this thing's going to grow, it's going to expand. This is going to be, there's going to be Car2Go stops at public offices and city halls, and this will be great because people can use it as, like you said, interim transit. If they get to work on a bus, they can have a car to go back and forth places. I happen to be a tax accountant, so when I first saw my first bill from Car2Go, I went, what? It's supposed to be 40 cents a minute, it's more like 50? And I immediately called and said, a 22% sales tax, you're not hitting your target audience here. Car2Go cited it too as a reason for why they wanted to go, so I just basically want to put a face to it and say, it's a great service. I really think car sharing in conjunction with busing and other forms of transit is going to be a huge part of the future, and I would really like to see it somehow be back in Minneapolis and Minnesota in general. Thanks.
Thank you. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Paul Stewart, and I live in Minneapolis, and I'm here representing myself. Mr. Chair and distinguished members of the Committee on Taxes, I apologize for my lack of business dress, but I rode my bike and took light rail to get here this morning. Mr. Chair, I'd like to begin by expressing my support for SF 133, car sharing services, motor vehicle rental tax, and fee exemption, because the Twin Cities needs to support car sharing as a transportation alternative to personal car ownership due to limited options to expand our existing road capacity and also some limits to the coverage of mass transit. The economic burden personal car ownership places on many residents, the environmental burden caused by personal car ownership, including vehicle production, increased greenhouse gas emissions, and space needed for parking. But let me tell you my story. As I said before, I live in Minneapolis and work in Eagan at the Delta Airlines data center, which is 15 miles from my home. Most days I bike to work, and in the winter I ride the bus part of the way, but also bike. I also frequently fly to Atlanta for work and leave early in the morning and return late at night. And I do all this and even more, even though I sold my car in 2009. My tools for modal transit are, as I mentioned, biking, and I also have a Nice Ride membership and a bike locker from Metro Transit. I use Metro Transit with a GoTo Pass. I use Uber and Lyft with a cell phone app, and car sharing services such as Our Car, that's the fob, and also my Car2Go membership. But I also have another form of transportation I call Her Car, which is my wife's car. So, as long as I run an errand or two, I can take it. I've been a member of Our Car since 2006 and had access to vehicles while living in Bryn Mawr, Uptown, and Linden Hills. When I had an apartment in Uptown, near 31st and Girard across from Calhoun Square, I had access to 2 Our Car vehicles within easy walking distance and 3 Our Car vehicles within biking distance. And so with that many shared vehicles available, I did not add another car to that neighborhood, which is already lacks adequate parking and experiences frequent congestion. Another example of my car sharing use is Car2Go, which started in September 2013, and I joined in February 2015. Car2Go was a unique service because their model is one-way sharing, so trips are point-to-point, versus Zipcar and Our Car, whose model is round-trip sharing, which requires that the car be returned to where it was picked up. The flexibility of one-way car sharing that Car2Go provided was often the right gap filler for my transit needs. I used Car2Go over 54 times in 22 months, early morning, late evening runs to the airport, unplanned events or emergencies, changes of plans due to weather events, and convenience. And I'm just one example of 22,000 Car2Go members in the metro area who had access to 400 vehicles metro-wide. That's 22,000 members using 400 vehicles, which meant less personal-owned vehicles were needed in order to meet residents' transit needs. A recent study of Car2Go usage by Innovative Mobility Research in 5 cities suggests that 2 to 5% of the Car2Go users in that study sold their private vehicle, and 3 to 7% forego a vehicle purchase due to Car2Go. So Car2Go sharing services provide a number of benefits. Transit and infrastructure strain is reduced. In that IMR study I just referred to, they showed a net reduction of vehicle miles traveled across all 5 cities from 21 million to, the reduction was between 21 and 37 million miles per year. Economic burden is eased with car sharing. According to the American Automobile Association, the average cost of car ownership is $6,500 to $8,500, and this cost is a burden on some people who have trouble making ends meet. Recent graduates with student loan debt, people living on fixed income, et cetera. So the availability of car sharing services allows some people to forego car ownership, and in my case, my wife and I, we get by on 1 car instead of 2. And also with car sharing, the environmental impact is lessened. Most cars spend 90% of their time not being used. And also that IMR study I referred to calculated that greenhouse gases were reduced by 10 to 14 metric tons per year per Car2Go vehicle due to people no longer needing a vehicle or not purchasing an additional vehicle. So, Mr. Chair, what killed Car2Go in the Twin Cities? In the Twin Cities metro area, car sharing services are taxed in the same way as rental cars. Motor vehicle tax 9.2%, a 5% fee to reimburse leasers for registering vehicles, general sales tax of 6.9%, and other taxes and leases, other local taxes. Typically, these rental car taxes apply to visitors, but for car sharing services like Car2Go, the burden is placed on Twin Cities residents. These tax rates are considered the highest rates in this nation, according to the National Conference of State Legislators, and was cited as the reason Car2Go suspended service. A study by DePaul University concluded that Minneapolis' average tax rate for car sharing is about 22%, 10th highest in the country, whereas Portland, Oregon has a 0% tax for car sharing. So, Mr. Chair, I can also cite many studies and articles about real and projected population growth in the Twin Cities metro area. But the bottom line is that more people will be living in the Twin Cities metro area, so innovative and creative transportation modes like car sharing are needed. Now, it's often true that innovations arrive before policies can be amended and drafted, so I believe that car sharing and the taxes imposed is one of those cases. So SF 133 needs to be passed to lower or eliminate taxes for car sharing, and this is a win-win for all sides. No new infrastructure needs to be built for car sharing. They use the existing roads. No new stations need to be built. People can spend money on other essentials if they don't need to own their own vehicle. Less greenhouse gas emissions due to reduced personal car ownership, and a more favorable business conditions for car sharing due to reduced taxes. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Committee on Taxes, for the opportunity to speak in favor of SF 113. And this concludes my testimony, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. We have 2 more, what's that? Senator Rice, you have a question? Do you want to just ask that? Go ahead. You want to answer a question? Go ahead, Senator Rice.
In the Twin Cities area, you saw them rounded about, and they don't look like much more than a small motorcycle with a cover on the top. And I was wondering what the safety record of these vehicles are, and I'm assuming that the liability coverage is assigned to the fleet and not to an individual who, even though you may use all of those different services, I'm assuming your insurance is the insurance on your spouse's car that you cover. But what, and not maybe just in Minneapolis or in the Twin Cities, but what's been the safety record of these vehicles when they're involved in a crash? What do you have any information on that?
So, Mr.
Senator
Chair,
Dibble?
thank you. No, Senator Rest, I don't. I can say my intuition is that these cars typically are used for, not for highway or freeway purposes, although, they run out, used to run out to the airport and run around town and stuff, but they're used for a lot of neighborhood trips, so I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but I'll find out.
Okay.
And as far as liability, yeah, the basic, per hour fee that a member pays covers, the
insurance.
capital costs, the overhead, and the operations maintenance. Basically, car sharing is a way of distributing over a broad group of people all of those fixed costs that we all pay for owning our car, buying it, or, paying it off, insurance, et cetera. And then the variable costs, gas, the actual operating is picked up by the individual on that per-use basis. I mean, not that they fill the car up themselves, but that's basically the concept in terms of how the economics are yeah. So
Thank you, Senator.
I don't know. I mean, I know that these cars are certified as roadworthy, and so they meet, certain federal standards in order to be able to go on the road. I'm guessing, though, that if they tangle with a much larger vehicle, it's probably not a pretty picture. But Cartigo is bright white with, bright blue, so they're quite visible. I think.
All right. Just one quick note. There's a little anomaly here. This bill is going to transportation, so there'll be another bite of that. Then we'll be coming back here. Just a little hiccup there. It'll come back here. So it's going over there, then come back here. Mr. Stewart, did you have to comment on that?
Yes, Mr.
piece?
Chair, and Senator Dibble, I just wanted to add on to the question and just say that as a driver and a user, all of the license or all the insurance was just part of the fee. So I did not have to go to and purchase my own car insurance or anything like that. It was all inclusive. And I know that when I was in the car itself, it had dual airbags, it had side curtain airbags, and it has kind of the frame around it is meant to absorb energy. And obviously, our car versus, 3/4 ton pickup truck is just anything you would run into. But they were certainly a safe vehicle.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chairman.
Mr. Senator Rest, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, so
Then
I
Gazalka,
have
Senator
two, actually, but one's a comment back to you. So although you would, Mr. Stewart, you would wear a seatbelt, you didn't need to wear a helmet. Is that right? To feel safe in the car?
No, ma'am.
It's a joke. Okay.
Is that all, Senator
But
Rest?
I do have, I have a couple of questions about the revenue estimate. If Mr. Cummings or somebody here from the department could speak to that.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
my hope is that
Senator Gilzalka, go ahead.
that Stewart remains, because I'd like to ask him a question, too.
Yes,
so.
yep.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Cummings.
Senator Rest.
My question is based on, or comes from the assumptions made about the future use of a service that no longer exists, although it did in the past. And I just, would like a little bit more detail or discussion of that. I understand all the taxes they're subjected to, and I know we don't do dynamic scoring, but this is in a way, and since they're all gone now, this is anticipating bringing them back, at least 3 out of the 4, and I was just wondering how that discussion in arriving at the revenue estimate was generated.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record. I don't recognize you.
Mr. Chair and Senator Rest, so I don't currently know the state of what happened in terms of what car sharing services are active or not active in the state. I know that as they were trying to make the analysis, they were trying to look at what car sharing services were available at the time. There was a discussion of, the point in which I dropped off from learning about this was when should the estimate be based before Car2Go actually leaves the market, or should it be based, they made an announcement that they were leaving the market. The research division was sort of, should we base that analysis on their actual actions or their stated actions? I think they have left the market now. So I think our research division is trying to map as closely as to possible as what is actually going on to the market. As new assumptions are made available or as new changes in the market happen, I know that Dr. Wilson is very open to changing the estimate if there are better assumptions available. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Senator Rest.
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cummings, it's just, it's always a curiosity for me when we are creating a tax expenditure for a business that currently doesn't exist, even though it may have existed in the past. So I just think that's really, it's just interesting to me. So
Thank you, Senator Rest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Members, we have, thank you, Senator Rest. We have 4 questions, and then, but we still have 2 testifiers left. So I know we had a couple of questions for the current testifiers, so just keep that in mind. Senator Gazelka, you were first up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Stewart. First of all, I really love your preparation and fleshing out kind of what we're trying to look at here. It's extremely helpful when people do that. And as far as the comment about 10th highest tax in the country, you should feel fortunate. Much of Minnesota is way above that. And so, but when I look at this, I look at how do we create level playing fields and to what we're doing. And so if this is a model that helps and everything else works, then, then that's a good thing. But one thing I did want to know, and you probably know this above other people, is how much liability is there? So you rent one of these cars, you're involved in a car accident. How well are you protected if there is an accident?
Well, that's an excellent question, and I'm afraid I don't have details. I'd be happy to research it for you, and get back in contact with Car2Go for that. I know that I was not required to carry my own insurance, and my understanding was there was liability was covered, injury was covered, and those types of things. So it was all conclusive, and and that made it also a good service for people that had not owned a car in the past, if they didn't have any kind of record or something like that. But I would be happy to research that for you.
So, Mr. Chair, just if somebody has that information, that would be helpful for me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Pratt?
Mr. Chair, I'll hold off until the other testifiers.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. And Senator Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe this is to Senator Dibble. In the Car2Go's statement of leaving the market, that it's just extremely high state taxes, are there other markets, the others in the kind of realm of this, that they've left markets that you know of?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you. Senator Anderson, the answer to your question is yes. At least one other that I know of that they departed because of citing the tax situation. Florida, Miami, I think. There might be 1 or 2 others.
Yes, I believe, I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Stewart?
Senator Dibble, but yeah, I've read Miami and San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego, yes.
And
Senator Anderson, you have a follow-up?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then it looks like, and Senator Dietzich and I were pulling up the color graph, which kind of gives us a better depiction of the percentage tax and the transaction tax. And it looks like our percentage tax is 22%, the highest. Chicago is similar. New York is close. Has there been any exit or movement in those markets?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Dibble.
Yes, I mean, this tax situation is one factor of a number that these car sharing services are struggling with. The other is, of course, competition in the market. Lyft and Uber and, some other forces that they're subject to. Trying to sift out exactly what the critical factor is that's causing car sharing services business model to function well in competition is hard. But it is safe to say that they're looking at their business model, their pricing, all the factors, and the competitive forces that they're struggling with, and taxes is one of them, and they seem to have a pretty strong and credible case here, at least in Minneapolis, given that folks were paying 22% above the price of the actual service itself, causing their ability to offer a viable, attractive, cost-effective service to the marketplace. So that's a long-winded answer to say, yes, there is some struggle in other cities, and some of it is around how much they have to charge because of the taxes.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. Could I ask members to defer until we hear the final two testifiers? That be fine,
Yes,
Senator
we can
Rest?
wait.
So final two testifiers, Senator Dibble, Linda Taylor and Mackenzie Spalding. Is Linda Taylor here? Okay. Mackenzie, you want to, Ms. Spalding, you want to approach? Welcome to the committee, Ms. Taylor. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Linda Taylor. I am presently the interim executive director at the Neighborhood Energy Connection in St. Paul. Mr. Chair, Senator Dibble, members of the committee, I'm here today to support Senate File 133. Our CAR, which, by the way, is still here, is a program of the Neighborhood Energy Connection. NEC pioneered car sharing in the Twin Cities 11 years ago with 13 cars. We presently operate 61 cars. And as was mentioned before, we use a hub model where you pick up the car at the same location that you drop the car back off at. We're a very small operation. We have 2,500 members. We are nonprofit. We have an annual budget of about $700,000. Car2Go, with its one-way business model, had about 29,000 members in the Twin Cities. The taxes that we pay each year at our car are 10 to 12% of our operating budget. That's a lot for a small operation. That ranges from about $7,500 to about $12,000 per month. Our effective tax rate in Minneapolis is 16.875%. I'm sorry, that is in St. Paul. In Minneapolis, it's 16.975% because you add the 0.15% for the Hennepin County sales tax there. The taxes on car sharing in Minnesota are the second highest in the nation. Phoenix, Arizona taxes car sharing more than Minnesota does. Senate File 133 would exempt all car sharing services, nonprofit and for-profit, from the 9.2% rental vehicle tax and from the additional 5% rental vehicle fee. Our car does not pay the additional 5%. That's why our tax rate is right around 17% instead of right around 22%. We were exempted from that a number of years ago. Even so, this bill would reduce by over half our tax burden on our members. I think that it's fair to say that one of the questions our customer service people get more often than any other is, I thought the rate was X, why is it 20% or almost 20% higher than that? And the answer always is, of course, that that's the tax rate. Car sharing is not like car rental. Both nonprofit and for-profit operators of car sharing services use a membership model plus usage fees. Each shared vehicle represents reduces individual car ownership by 2.5 cars on the road. Our members are local. While some of them represent higher income families, the majority tend to be low to moderate income families and individuals for whom car sharing eliminates the need to own and operate a car or to own and operate a second car. Participating in car sharing reduces stress on transportation infrastructure and reduces traffic congestion. Because the vehicles in our fleet tend to be newer, they are generally more efficient and less polluting than vehicles that would otherwise be owned and used by a majority of our members. The vehicles are kept in repair, which further lessens their participation in disrupting traffic and in overall emissions. The McKnight Foundation funded a recently completed shared use mobility study of and action plan for the Twin Cities. The plan calls for deployment of over 900 shared vehicles over the next 2 decades to help, in part, offset the predicted 675,000 vehicle increase that will happen over that same period of time. Presently, our 61 vehicles are operated, and the few operated by Zipcar, I think they have 5 to 10,
Ms.
are a
Taylor?
slow start
Ms.
on
Taylor,
that
I'd like to
900.
interrupt for just 1 second. We're running out of time here. Can you,
Okay.
we need to, we got a couple more bills. I don't mean to rush you, but a lot of this stuff we've been over. So
Okay.
I just request that you, I don't mean to be rude, but we have other people behind you. Just request that you hit the highlights and we wrap her up with this.
Right.
Thank you.
I just have a couple more sentences, really. There are several market barriers for car sharing in the Twin Cities. The rental vehicle taxes and fees is one of the big barriers. Most of the barriers can be addressed with good business modeling and lean operations. The higher taxes, however, do not lend themselves to workarounds. Pragmatically, the Twin Cities of Minnesota need to rapidly increase ways to transport individuals and families who live here without dramatically increasing reliance on individually owned and operated vehicles. Car sharing reduces the negative impacts of vehicle use. Rental vehicles add negative impacts on infrastructure, traffic flow, and air quality. Applying rental vehicle taxes and fees to car sharing is indeed a big barrier to market entry. No small business, whether nonprofit or for-profit, and perhaps not even large businesses like Car2Go, can survive this tax rate in the long run. We at Our Car strongly encourage you to support Senate File 133. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record. Hold on one moment. Mr. Hill, did you want to join? Well, that looked kind of fun. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Todd Hill with Hill Capital Strategies, and I'm here on behalf of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And I have Mackenzie Spalding who'll make some comments, and then I wanted to just do some follow-up as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Please state, Ms. Spalding, please state your name for the record.
My name is Mackenzie Spalding.
Thank you.
I'm here representing Enterprise Holdings, who operates Enterprise National in Alamo here in Minnesota. And I have a little bit of information if a page could distribute this.
Thank you.
So Enterprise National and Alamo Rent-A-Car. Rent-A-Car is pretty self-explanatory. We do much more. We operate a car sales division, leasing division, truck rental, and really all types of rental, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, and a car sharing network. We operate in airports, but primarily in local markets. With over 60 locations in Minnesota, not just in the metro, but in Hibbing and other outstate greater Minnesota areas. And a majority of our business is with these local Minnesota people. There's been numerous references to car rental happening only at the airport, and it's simply not true. Again, a majority of our business happens here, and Enterprise built their business on local rental needs. People needing a replacement vehicle, going on a trip, or simply needing a vehicle because they didn't have their own. So with that, I want to just go on record saying we really agree with the large component of this bill. We think Minnesota taxes for rental cars are far too high. And I think there's just a bit more to consider. So I, like Enterprise, built my personal business on these local customers, spending my rental life, 10, almost 11 years, solely focused on Minnesota customers in need, and helping these people truly is my passion. The relationships between all of the people that allow us to work with these consumers, body shops, insurance companies, dealerships. And with that, we're here in opposition of Senate File 133. with other companies, other rental companies sharing our same stance. Not because we don't agree 100% with the rental car tax structure being, again, far too high. We really do. However, it's too high for all Minnesota customers, not just for Car2Go customers or car sharing customers. Because car sharing really is car rental. It's just a different term, and something that Enterprise, National, Alamo, Hertz, Rent-A-Car, Choice, Sixt, et cetera, do every day with the same customers. In the packet of information I dispersed, there's a couple screenshots of a Car2Go website, and really just with the idea that I'd like to point out, it's not just an hourly rental. It's not just a 1 hour rental for someone who needs to run grab a gallon of milk and come home. They're advertising to people whose, vehicles are in the shop and they need a multi-day rental. There's daily rates available, and it's all of the same customers that any rental car company touches. We believe a rental is a rental, regardless of how long the vehicle's rented or the use of the vehicle, and all customers should feel this relief, not just one segment of the rental customer base. Minnesota ranks, I know you've heard the stat a few times, but within the top 5 highest states for rental car taxes, 9.2% in excess of the state sales tax, and puts us at locally over 21% tax, and at the airport over 40%. It's excessive. We answer those same customers who, on a daily basis, say, I thought the rate was this, and why is it this much? And it's the same response. We strongly oppose these taxes from the beginning. The 6.2% temporary tax that happened in '91 was to finance the Super Bowl. And just a few years ago, the additional 3%. And our message then is, or our message now is the same as it was then. This tax hurts Minnesota customers. It's excessive. And these Minnesota consumers rent every day for many, many reasons. To get a gallon of milk, because they need an oil change, because their car was in an accident, there's a snowstorm, and there's thousands of people that need another car while their personal vehicle is being repaired, or they simply don't have one. They're not just renting hourly, and it hurts all Minnesota consumers. So for that reason, we ask that you oppose Senate File 133, because it's not fair for you to pick winners and losers, and it's not right to give relief to some rental customers and not all.
Thank you, Ms. Spalding. We're going to wrap this up by 9:30. So, Mr. Hill?
And Mr. Chairman,
Welcome to the committee.
Again, for the record, Todd Hill with Hill Capital Strategies, and I'll be very brief. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. The legislature has considered this issue in the past, giving a tax break to one of the competitors or one segment of the rental car industry, and it's been rejected. We believe that it doesn't matter, a rental is a rental is a rental. It doesn't matter who's providing the service or who's delivering the service. Past legislative sessions have agreed to that, as well as the courts, that these products are the same, and it should not matter the duration of the delivery of the rental. As McKinsey pointed out, the majority of our renters, there is a huge myth that rental car companies only rent to out-of-town travelers, and that's just not true. The majority of the people who rent cars from Enterprise Car Rental are Minnesotans. They're Minnesotans who rent a car because they want to take it where they're going to maybe use it hourly or daily, or they're going to go up north to spend the weekend, or their car's in the shop. The majority of our renters are Minnesotans. And when this tax, the 6.2% tax, was originally put in place in the late 80s, it was intended to be a temporary tax to finance the Super Bowl. And that tax continues today. We raised concerns then about the impact it would have on Minnesotans. We raised those same impacts in 2013 when we raised the tax by 3%. To fund tourism. This tax impacts Minnesotans. It doesn't just impact out-of-town business travelers. And Car2Go and our car are making the same arguments we made back then. These taxes are difficult for our customers to manage. And the last thing I just wanted to point out, a bill that this committee is going to consider here next is a bill by Senator Dames that is going to dedicate these revenues to transportation and to transportation funding. And we would just argue if that's the direction that the legislature wants to go, and we haven't taken a position on that bill, but if our customers are going to be required to pay for the roads that those cars are going to be driven on, we believe that our car and Car2Go's customers should pay the same taxes. We agree the tax is too high, and if the legislature wanted to reduce the tax, we would walk arm in arm with our competitors. But right now, we just think this is giving them a competitive advantage. This legislature has grappled with issues about how you decide tax policy and you differentiate between businesses. We argue time and time again about whether or not we should tax online sales by retailers and how we should protect bricks and mortar companies. We have argued about whether or not we should regulate Airbnb and whether or not the people that are renting houses or homes should pay taxes and be bound by regulation. This is no different. Just because they deliver their product differently, the product is the same product. And for that, we would oppose this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. So on the agenda here, we have Senator Pratt, Senator Anderson, Senator Senjum, Senator Rust. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Mr. Hill answered one of my questions. I guess my question would be for Senator Dibble or I'm sorry, Ms. Taylor. Do you have to be a member in order to rent these cars, or can anybody off the street come up and borrow a car, so to speak?
Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll defer to Ms. Taylor to describe her, the business model of our car, but Car2Go, I am familiar. You have to be a member, sign up ahead of time, and be a subscriber. You can't just randomly call one day. You have to sign up, make sure you're a licensed driver, in good standing, et cetera, and you have to do that ahead of time.
Ms. Taylor, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the same is true for our car. It's a membership subscription service, and certainly we're very different from car rental companies. So.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, did you want to respond?
Yes, Senator Chamberlain and Senator Pratt. I just would point out that Enterprise, we also have a product just like that. It's very common on college campuses around the country where college students can sign up and become a member and then can use a car when it's available. So we have a very similar product in the marketplace.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Senator
Quick
Pratt, follow-up?
So, Senator Dibble, would that enterprise model be exempt in your bill then?
Senator Dibble.
Yes, yeah, I mean, Mr. Chair, Senator Pratt, yes, yeah. Or, if it needs to be tweaked, I mean, I've had a discussion with Enterprise in my office, and I'm actually surprised they're showing up to oppose, because I thought the conversation we had was if you have a product that actually competes on the same footing and on the same basis, of course, we would want there to be equal treatment, not looking to advantage any particular business over another if we're delivering the same product that competes on an equal footing. I will say that my constituents and neighbors who live around me in Uptown are not aware of this product, as evidenced by the testimony and the like, that they could access some sort of a similar product nearby to serve their short-term, hourly transportation needs.
Ms. Spalding, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, so as Todd, Mr. Chair, as Todd mentioned, we do have a car sharing network that is in place on a lot of college campuses. But we also, our local stores, the 60-plus stores that we have in Minnesota, serve those same customers with
Look at that.
temporary need. And so we offer.
I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jonas?
We offer car sharing on college campuses, but also short-term rental needs in all of our 60 locations, from hourly rentals to half-day rentals to, and we work with those same people who need a vehicle for 3 hours because of an oil change or something like that. And I specifically work with those people on a daily basis. And so we use the other locations that we have as a way to meet those customers' needs. And because of that, it's one of many different things that we handle out of our offices.
We have about 7 minutes left. Senator Rest?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Dibble, Senator Pratt in part asked a question that I was interested in, and that is how do the rental car organizations and businesses regard this car sharing? Do they see it as unique, which is what you are presenting it as? And it seems to me that will be your biggest challenge going forward. I support your bill, but that it is that the structure is indeed unique, this membership, which I'm assuming there must be some sort of cost associated with it. And even maybe talking about how unique the vehicles themselves are. They're very different. They're at least what I've seen, you can hardly fit one person in it, much less 3 or 4, or luggage or things like that. And as long as, if there's a similar service from a rental car business, it would seem to me that indeed that should be. If it's the same thing, if you have to be a member, and all these little things that characterize the Car2Go, then it seems to me that the argument is to show how unique they are. And I'm assuming, you have to have things like a driver's license to rent them and so forth. Are these cars, the Car2Go, are they electric cars or are they gasoline cars?
Senator Dibble?
Mr. Chair, Senator Rest, I know that our car has electric hybrid. Any full electric, Ms. Taylor? And I believe the Car2Go cars, are they, I don't remember. I think there are some hybrids and some, yeah.
Ms. Taylor? You want to
Mr. Chair, just quickly, the Car2Go cars were all smart cars. Smart car was developed by Mercedes-Benz in Germany.
Are they electric or gas or
They're
hybrid?
gas. Our cars tend to range from being Honda Fits to being Priuses.
Thank you, Ms.
Yeah,
Taylor.
it would seem, Mr.
And if
Chairman,
I
it would
could
seem to me
respond
that
to
if
Senator
they
Rest's
were
question.
electric cars, you'd have to have charging stations all over the place. So I was assuming that they'd be gas cars. So, Mr. Chairman, I do think the argument moving forward in the Transportation Committee and coming back here is to demonstrate the unique niche, different from what we think of the usual rental cars, whether they're local or not, whether they're at the airport or anywhere else. Why is this different, and why does it deserve a special treatment, even though in a sense, picking winners and losers in one way, unless you can really demonstrate that it's not, and the cost is almost minuscule with regard to the Car2Go
Mr. Chair.
type of vehicle.
Thank you, Senator Rest. Quick comment, Senator Dibble, we have one more question.
Mr. Chair, Senator Rest, I completely agree, and I have no argument with Enterprise. So I'm surprised by their testimony because I'm quite clear. What I think is unique about this service is the fact that it's constructed on an hourly basis.
The business structure.
Very, very short term. I don't care if it's point to point or round trip, membership, not membership. This is about serving folks who have a transportation gap that they need to address from time to time, for errands to fill in, second car, as has been described. So, the way this bill is constructed, I'm not invested in. I'm interested in folks in our community who need a car for an hour, a couple of hours. I think that is a different sort of service than the more traditional long-term, multi-day rental car as the current 9.2%, which, I don't disagree, is super high, and that's a whole other discussion. Maybe that should come down. That's a different subject, though. This is about this particular
Thank
kind
you.
of service being
Thank you,
chased out of the
Senator.
market.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion at this point.
Senator Dietzick has one question and another comment. Thank you, Senator Rest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As a quick comment, I too had a lot of constituents representing the University of Minnesota and Augsburg campuses. I had a ton of people call, so I appreciate Senator Dibble bringing this bill forward and the conversation that we're having today. I will follow up with these two testifiers on the liability issue that Senator Gazelka raised. And I do think this is a little different, and we should even look at Uber and Lyft, because I think where technology and just the whole sharing economy is moving quicker than we are, and the law is that I do think we need to continue that conversation, because the next one that's coming is driverless cars. So how does that impact, and how do we tax that? It might be a few years, it might be 10 years, I don't know. But so I appreciate the conversation and look forward to continuing it.
Thank you, Senator Dietzick. Senator Senjum, he has some closing comments.
Well, just 10 seconds worth. And I think some of this can get flushed out in Transportation Committee, but I think that if we could establish that there's a cost to, with respect to the cost of congestion, the cost of parking infrastructure, and something like that, if that's affected by these cars in a positive way, we shouldn't have tax policy that discourages it. We should at least make it an even playing field, or maybe even incentivize it a little bit. Congestion and parking infrastructure cost our cities a lot of money, and I think there's an offset here.
Thank you, Senator Senjum. Senator Dibble, final comments?
Senator Senjum said it best.
Thanks, Senator Senjum. So, Senator Rest, you
Mr. Chairman, I would move that Senate File 133 be recommended to pass and referred to the Committee on Transportation.
Senator Rest recommends that Senate File 133 be recommended to pass and referred to the Senate Committee on Transportation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Thank you. Senate File 133 is going to Transportation. Senator Dibble,
Thank you, Mr. Chair and
testifiers.
members.